Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Collins, Emily Nice, Susan Zonesser, John McFarlane, Carrie Carl. Here. Janet Diet, Christine Power. Here. Rick Bellhumor,
Here.
Greg Feldman,
Here.
Lisa Davina, Daniel Nicholas.
Here.
Bob Williams,
Here.
Stork,
Here. Here.
Mark Wood,
Here.
Aaron Pittman, Joe Fry,
Here. Here.
Bobby Ball,
Here.
Jim Tuholsky, Philip Hobsky, Pam Phillips, Elizabeth Lundian, Morgan Bayer, Siva Persad,
Here.
Omar Atala, Hamid Tabassian, Richard Zion, Kaya Towell. Here. We have a physical form.
Okay, we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Williams, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will entertain a motion from someone to allow the folks online to participate.
Motion to allow.
Second.
Historic, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we are open for public comment. Sir.
Name is Gillis Blaze, former member of this organization, represented Holly Hill. And since today is St. Patrick's Day, and guess what? The good Irish people were responsible for developing transportation in our country. They built our railroads, our bridges, and also our seaports because they were cheap labor. And somehow we have forgotten to recognize them. I myself being a Catholic, I myself born in Canada, I had relatives in the priesthood, and the orphans of these Irish people that ended up being orphaned or on the boats or ended up Canada or the United States, and they kept their Irish name, and the church they farmed out these orphans to Catholic families. And that helped perpetuate the Irish Celtic culture in America. And I believe that the Irish people should be more recognized. Also, some of the other groups that were involved in developing transportation in America, including Florida. Thank you.
Thank you, Blake. Anybody else from the public? See no one else. I will close public comment. We will move on to the action items. First one is review and approval of the February 17, 2026 CAC TCC meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Approval in a second. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, I'll entertain the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to B. Review and recommend approval. Resolution 2026, a number to be assigned, amending the fiscal year 25-26 to fiscal year 29-30 Transportation Improvement Program. Colleen.
Yes, thank you. So this is, as Chair Feldman mentioned, an amendment to our TIP. There's 3 projects that are involved with this particular TIP amendment. One is the addition of construction funding for the Clyde Morris Boulevard project for phase 1. We're actually going to be receiving a presentation status on that project later on in this meeting. But this is a project that ranks number 1 on our priority list with regards to non-CIS regionally significant state highway projects. It does run through the Embry-Riddle campus. It's been a project that we've identified as a priority for many, many years. With the adoption of our latest long-range transportation plan back in September, this project did move up to the initial or top spot on that list. During the LRTP development, the TPO identified potential funding for it within the first 5-year band, which doesn't start until 2030. However, working with the Florida Department of Transportation during the last work program cycle, we identified funding and was able to advance this project. So this is the advancement of construction funding for phase 1 of that project. The other 2 projects that are on this list are actually deletions from the work program, and they are requested to be deleted by the project sponsor, which is the city of South Daytona. These are 2 bike ped projects that came in through our annual call for projects, were ranked program for design, but they are requesting to remove that programming due to shifting priorities within the city that have to do with resiliency funding, that they're using those funds that they would have spent on that resiliency project. So that's a request to remove those funding. So we have to formally remove them from our TIP. So the TIP does add construction funding for the 5 Morris Boulevard project and then removes those 2 South Daytona bike ped projects. If there's any questions or comments, I'd be happy to address those.
That's a reallocation of the funds that were.
So the funds right now for the deletions.
Right.
So what happens is a project get deleted, the funds will come back into our programming box, but it does take a little bit of time. So we'll be able to use those funds on another project, yes.
All right. Yes, sir.
Do I remember correctly that 10 or 15 years ago, the Clyde Morris project was ready to go, but Embry-Riddle wasn't quite ready, and we had a real big need on Speedway Boulevard, East ISB, and there was a move to reallocate that Clyde Morris funding to East ISB.
Yes, so originally the Clyde Morris Boulevard project was a widening project, where the department was looking at widening that facility through the Embry-Riddle campus. There was some funds that were programmed on that project at the time. But the East ISB project came in and it was reprioritized through the priority list, through the proper channels. It received funding. The city of Daytona Beach requested that we remove funding from that project so we could move the East ISB project forward. At that time, we did that. Following that, we developed our 2045 long-range transportation plan where we revisited the Clyde Morris Boulevard project and determined that widening really wasn't the best solution in that area. So the project that's coming before you now is more of a complete street safety type project moving forward. So in our 2045 long-range transportation plan, that project was identified as a reimagining or a corridor project, not a widening project. So yes, the funds were removed from the original widening project, but what's moving forward now is different.
I just want to commend the organization for being flexible and adjusting. What's happened on the East ISB is really key for our whole region. So thank you for that.
Anyone else? If not, this requires a roll call vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we do need a motion to approve. That would help.
Move to approve. Second.
Now we can do the roll call vote. So intriguing.
Yes. Steve Power. Yes. Rick Feldhumer.
Yes.
Greg Feldman.
Yes.
Lisa Davina.
Yes.
Daniel Nicholas. Paul Williams.
Yes.
Bob Stewart.
Yes.
Mark Woods.
Yes.
Jane Joe Spy.
Yes.
Bobby Ball.
Yes.
Eva Persad.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Move on to C under action items, review and recommend approval of resolution 2026 with a number to be assigned, amending the fiscal year 24-25 and 25-26 Unified Planning Work Program, the obligating funds, and authorizing an amendment to the TPO Metropolitan Planning Organization Agreement.
So at last month's meeting, we were talking about the development of our new UPWP and tasks that are going into that. We have developed a draft and submitted that to our agency partners for review. It's also posted on our public website for any review comments from the community and the citizens as well. as part of the development of the plan, what we look at is our current UPWP and any funds that we do not anticipate spending down before the end of the fiscal year. We have to de-obligate from our current UPWP so that we can use that in our first year of our new UPWP. So we've taken a look at the funds that we have allocated to the different tasks, and we've identified some funding amounts to be de-obligated and utilized in the new UPWP. We use those funds when developing the budget tables for that new UPWP, but this is the amendment that takes those funds out of our current UPWP. So there's a little bit overlap on the process and the timing of when each of these occur. So this is an amendment to take those funds out. So currently, we are proposing to remove $320,200 of PL funds. Those are the planning funds that we receive from our current UPWP, and $150,000 of SU funds for our current UPWP. The SU funds, those are the funds that we're able to use for planning projects or special studies. The PL funds cover all of the operations that we do here at the TPO. So this is an amendment to remove those funds and then amend the funding agreement accordingly. If there's any questions or comments about the amendment or the process or how it ties into the PWP, I'd be happy to address those.
Christine?
Yeah, just, is there a reason that the numbers aren't in here? Like, is it,
Because they were finalized on Friday.
okay, I mean, I just wasn't sure. That
Right.
was, yeah.
Usually we have them, but we were waiting on some information from some of our partners that we were going to be doing studies for to help
Okay.
us determine how much we needed and how much we could de-ob, because we do need to keep enough funding so we can operate through the end of June. So we do have some studies that we are going to be starting before then. So we wanted to make sure that we were comfortable with the estimates that they were providing us.
Any other questions?
So by the time the TPO votes on it, it will be,
Yes, these are the amounts that we submitted to DOT, and these are the amounts that we included in our draft new UPWP. So tomorrow, the agenda does go out for the board meeting, so it'll be popular.
Okay. Yes.
Anybody else? Anybody online with a question? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, Ms. Power. Okay, this is also a roll call vote.
Carrie Carl,
Yes.
Christine Power,
Yes.
Rick Belhumeur,
Yes.
Greg Feldman,
Yes.
Lisa Davina,
Yes,
Daniel Nicholas,
Yes.
Bob Williams,
Yes.
Bob Stork,
Yes.
Bill Navarro,
Yes.
Mark Woods,
Yes.
Wayne Josephi,
Yes.
Bobby Ball,
Yes.
Siva Prasad.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Moving on to number 3D, reappointment of 2026 Transportation Improvement Program Subcommittee members.
So this is the subcommittee that's convened annually to review the applications that the CPO receives during the annual call for projects. As you know, our call closed at the end of February, and during that time, we received a number of projects. We have identified them in presentation item number C. There's a table of projects they received. The subcommittee does review and rank the projects that we received in the traffic operations and safety, both the feasibility study category as well as the project implementation, and then also reviews any planning studies that we received. They are scored and ranked based on an established set of criteria that was approved by the TPO board last fall, and that was also included in the applications that went out. So the applications we received, all of the applicants know the criteria that we rank it by, and then provide responses to support the criteria in each of those categories. So this is opening up participation in that particular committee. First, we want to identify if there's anyone that is currently on the committee that wants to remain, and if there's any new members that also want to join the committee. Is it just staying? Okay. So that's Bobby.
You got my name on the list, might as well stay.
Yes, well, you were voted on in the BPAT too.
Yeah, I know.
So you're double stuck.
Yeah, I'm really stuck.
Colleen, what's the time commitment?
So typically, within the next month or two, we would have at least one meeting, maybe two. In the last few years, we've been able to get through it in about a 3-hour meeting, reviewing and ranking the applications. So it's 1 to 2 3-hour meeting. And then in the fall, generally we get back together one time to just talk through the process to see if there's any changes that need to be done, to or updated to our policies or anything that guides the annual call for projects. The meetings have not been set yet. So what typically happens is once we have the committee list, we will send out an availability poll to determine what the best date and time is for review of those meetings.
I like to join the committee if possible.
All right, here's a procedural question. Do we vote on the list as pictured, or do we amend the list, or do we do that at a subsequent meeting?
So we vote now, but we're only voting on the CAC members because there are members from both our Bike Ped Committee as well as our TCC. So this is members from the CAC. We do have one individual that's listed on here, Sean Collins from representing Daytona Beach, and he's not at the meeting. Typically what we've done in the past is reappointed them subject to them agreeing, and then I'll reach out to them afterwards. That way, if they do want to stay, then they're on the ballot. If they don't want to stay, if they can't participate anymore, then they can elect to withdraw.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Or is there anyone else that wants to join?
I have a question.
Rick Belkey.
Rick.
It's Rick Bellimer, Flagler Beach. Is Paul Matika on that list?
He is
from Flagler
not.
Beach?
No, not currently.
Can I get on that list as an alternate?
We can, if we can look at appointing Paul and then you as an alternate to Paul,
Okay,
if that's your wish.
it can work that way. Yes, yes, thank you.
And then I can I'll reach out to Paul following the meeting to make sure that he has the time commitment. And if not, then you as the alternate can serve.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? So we'll entertain a motion for every.
So what I have now is to reappoint Bob Stork, Bobby Ball, Sean Collins, and then to appoint new Siva Prasad, and Paul McKitka with Rick Bellhumer as the alternate.
Okay. If there's no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Yeah, you need a motion first. I can't.
Oh, okay. Well, a motion to
I move to approve the list that Colleen just gave.
Second, Christine.
We have a second?
Second, Christine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those-
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Under presentations and discussion items, the first one is a presentation and discussion of the adopted Flagler County 26 to 35 Transit Development Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And
Yes, sir.
thanks, committee members, for your time. I'm Jonathan Roberson with USF Cutter, and wanted to give you an update on the Flagler 2026 to 2035 TDP, which was adopted last night by the Board of County Commissioners. Just talk real quickly about the evaluation and alternatives development that happened since we last discussed this. An outline of the short and long-term needs identified, some recommendations for the next 10 years, and approval of the draft. What is the 26th to 2025 TDP? It's Flagler County's update to the previous TDP effort from 2022. By doing the TDP, it meets the requirements and allows Flagler County to qualify for annual public transit block grant funding for operating expenses. And the TDP identifies some public transportation needs for that are both considered cost feasible and unfunded, which we'll get to. And it informs the TPO of a planning process and other partners in the region of the short and long-term needs of the county. And it's required to be approved by the county, which it was last night, and then submitted to FDOT District 5 for review and approval, which will be done shortly. The TDP is located online on the county webpage. It's 5 chapters and a little smaller than the last one. It's a streamlined process now. But real quickly, some of the highlights, some of this we discussed last month, but a lot of this is new. We took a look at the current system and found overall that the current passengers were happy with the service, the courtesy of the drivers, the cost, the overall quality of service. But they would like to see some improvements, more trips, especially on times and days where trips aren't provided, faster service, shorter wait times for trips. So that was pretty clearly outlined by the current passengers and is one of the top needs we think of the system. In this last section, since we last discussed this plan, we did the final analysis of all the data and all the public input, and this kind of summarizes that information. We surveyed over almost 180 passengers, did surveys on the existing system. We had over 745 surveys received from online and social media efforts, and those who received at workshops, which is a really good result for a smaller county. And we had a number of public meetings, many of which were in front of this committee and the TPO board and other committees, the county commission, a couple of city, the Palm Coast City Commission, and a couple of public workshops. So putting all that public involvement and comment into context, we also did a market assessment of existing and projected demand for transit in the county. And with all that public input and data, kind of have to have the sausage maker to decide what's the priority possibly for the county, what can it possibly do feasibly, and what's a longer term role. And so we put everything together in kind of an evaluation and prioritization process. And with these 5 factors in mind of community support, the strength of the transit market, demand and productivity, ridership demand, potential. How do the transit alternatives align with plans and policies in the county and the region? And the feasibility of implementing a transit project. Often that means existing or attainable grant sources or local, state, federal funding sources. Putting this all together to a final ranking of identified needs to get to some kind of comprehensive list of prioritized projects got us to a long list of projects. But what we like to do in these types of plans is have some really cost feasible funded projects and their ranking outlined here, and arm the county with some kind of plan where they might be able to implement some transit services moving forward. So that's outlined here. Their top priority, based on the analysis we did, was to, of course, maintain existing services. But really after that was to improve the existing services. We saw a lot of that presented in the last few times. And that's something with, we think, some existing funding or our funding that could be attained, could be done. We also found that some kind of mobility on demand, demand response service in a couple different zones in the county ranked the highest and has the possibility of being implemented and funded with some sources of funding we'll discuss shortly. And there was also some fixed route service that tested very well and has some feasibility, but a little more expensive, and we're not quite sure of all the funding to do the fixed routes here, which I'll show a map shortly. But the main routes that tested well for ridership is where a lot of the activity is in the county: blue, pink, red, and another MOD zone. So these were kind of the top projects and the transit needs identified in the county and kind of a timeline for the next 5 years. Some of it we think is doable, and some of it we think will take more work and homework and planning. And it kind of looks like this. The total system need is outlined on this potential system map. But as we mentioned, the MOD zones, the mobility on demand zones in the southwest, the zone, the yellow area, and the northwest, the green, tested highest first. And so that's one thing we're recommending is take a look at those first. We suspect the northeast is not far behind, maybe some type of service out to Flagler Beach as well. That would all have to be figured out a little later. And then what we also saw was they could consider adding fixed route or some kind of hybrid fixed route service along Moody, Belterre, Palm Coast Parkway corridors based on possibly testing the demand of the MOD service in these zones, see where people are coming and going, and then get a better idea of testing and then implementing a few of these fixed routes if funding and demand is there. There was also a number of capital needs that we identified that would support the funded service and would also be needed to support partially funded needs or unfunded needs. And this includes updating current vehicles, new scheduling, IT systems, something that could be done now to improve the passengers' scheduling window and trip availability. And some other things here that are partially funded that we often see funded completely by grants yet to be determined, such as mobile ticketing, improvements to the dispatch operations facility to facilitate all this service, and some bus stop infrastructure and planning studies and so on. So these are some things typically in, like you see in the MPO world, a lot of capital projects can find some new grant funding. But this is how we laid it out, funded, partially funded. So the county is in a good position. They can start from scratch per se with public transportation. And these are some of the steps they need to do to make that happen for funded projects, maybe partially funded projects. Flagler County needs to secure its role and its designated recipient funding role with the Federal Transit Administration for 5307 funding. This would allow immediate money to come into the agency to do a alternative. We also need to seek additional federal funds from the federal government and FDOT. FDOT is a great partner and has helped often implement some pilot projects before. So we're encouraging that, as well as the Florida Commission for the Transportation Disadvantage also funds some innovative pilots. So there's steps they could take, we think, to implement a few things. And another huge partner is you all, the TPO. And I think for the first time, Flagler County has started to look at the annual call of projects for transit projects this year. And we're highly encouraging to keep doing that annually to support this TDP. The project schedule, we're getting closer. I'm looking for April or May anytime here, but the plan was approved last night and will be submitted to FDOT District 5 this week. Once submitted to D5, they have a up to 60-day review period and would provide comments and so on. If found compliant by FDOT, that would release public transit grant funds for the next state fiscal year. But I'm interested in your input and any input the PAC could give on this. It's an exciting time for the county, and I was happy to see they took a measured approach in trying to expand opportunities and ability. And we have Daniel Nicholas from Flagler County here who can take all the hard questions. Sure. But any thoughts or questions? I think this is a good measured approach that can go in steps. We would probably be come before you in the future on some ideas and other plans to support this overall.
Have you identified in Flagler where you want to have your fixed route and your microtransit in terms of need or where you see it would fit your model?
What we found was these services rose to the top in demand for both public, where the public wanted to see service, but also where the highest density of transit, potential transit uses are: schools, residences, businesses, institutions. And that basically was the southwest zone of Palm Coast, from Palm Coast Parkway to Moody Corridor. That naturally, that kind of area is the big one. And the northeast corridor, I'll show the map shortly. Blue, pink, and red route, keep those in mind. That's all kind of in the same area there. So everything yellow and green here tests the highest, but the mobility needs for people don't end at these two zones. So we tried to have the plan rank where others might go next. The northeast did well, but it's hard to see here, but the red from Bunnell to Flagler Beach, that area did very well. Blue in the middle for fixed route, pink up at Palm Coast Parkway. So it's a little hard to start fixed routes from scratches. So we think a zonal approach gives them the ability to test where people really want to come and go, and then it allows them to test for the next stage of investments that are partial. But does that help?
Yeah, absolutely.
So mobility on demand, I mean, what we visualize that to look like? Are we talking about like the small buses that are going to be running around based on where people call from?
Yes, it could be the small buses, low floor buses or something, sometimes vans. It depends on the types of trips, larger vans. Or I think Votran in Volusia County is an excellent example of initiating these types of services. Seminole County has also done a similar thing with 5 or 6 zones, I believe. And it's worked better for Seminole than fixed routes. So it would be something like that, but how it would actually operate, they'll need to do some planning, homework on exactly. But basically, the more passengers you can get on at one time, the better it is. And, identify maybe some work trips. I always give the example of Bay County, where the 15 people every morning were going out to the hotel to work, and they got one of those vans. They came back and forth on that. That's an extremely efficient way, we think, to offer it. And then the van could do all those other trips in between. But when you have stuff maybe booked, or you have some ideas of times and areas of demand, the vehicle size can kind of fluctuate a bit. But a lot of planning and homework will have to go.
Did I understand that in Volusia, in some on-demand areas, you're partnering with like Uber or somebody?
Absolutely.
How does that work?
So yeah, we partnered with Uber Transit for Ponce Inlet, and they have a program which they link with the transit company, to where on our app the passenger is able to select them if needed to go into Ponce Inlet in their designated areas. It's all based on the app and what we make available for the public. We're also using Uber to cover any areas that Volride is unable to cover if they're at capacity or if they're closer. So yeah, Uber does have a program that they work with the transit
So
company.
does the customer pays you and then you pay Uber?
So the customer is paying the standard fare, $2, and then the county covers the difference with Uber.
And we've already engaged, we've had several conversations with Uber Transit, kind of utilizing some of what you've done as a model. And they're probably one of our first options moving forward, because it's a way we can get quickly into the marketplace and quickly expand the number of trips that we do as funding comes available. So yeah, that was a great pilot program that we're going to jump on as well.
Yeah.
I know I mentioned this last time, but I mean, that whole world is about to change with autonomous driving. So, you're going to have huge options, and the numbers I've seen on the dollar per mile in an autonomous situation versus the traditional is phenomenal. Reduction from a couple of bucks or a buck to 25 or 35 cents, some silly numbers like that. So anyway, there's a long range plan. So I just encourage you to keep looking at that.
Thank you.
No, intimately involved. So for those that haven't met many of you, my name is Dan Nicholas, fairly new to this position. I've been in this role for the county for 3 months now. So when he says answer all the hard questions, that's probably not going to happen. I can write all the hard questions down and get you answers at a later date. This has been a great process for us to go through, both from a new person coming in and being involved with this and understanding the needs, as well as for our team as we move forward with additional funding like 5307 and what the plans are. The support among leadership and among our commissioners is very strong. Had conversations with several of them last night. Everybody is very supportive. So we're looking forward. I've got fixed routes tended to score high among the public. Those are, I think, are longer putts for us, just because we call it the eye in the office. You can see the pink and then the blue and then the red. That's kind of the main corridor, the eye there. There is not a single suitable bus stop in any of those roadways right now. So it is a very long putt for us to do that. It doesn't mean we're not going to look at that, but I think the zonal approach and the mobility on demand, as we're talking, as well as expanding our existing services with drivers and buses, will probably be our first priorities out the door as we evaluate a potential future, 3-5 year down the line fixed route.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we will move on. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks for your time and service on that.
Absolutely. Move on to 4B, which is presentation and discussion.
It's gonna be in a couple minutes. Do you want me to go first?
We can move on to item C, if you don't mind, Chair, and then come back to B, C and D, and then come back to B.
Okay. We'll move on to C, which is presentation and discussion of the 2026 TPO annual call for project.
So we just appointed and reappointed our TIP subcommittee members. Those are the members that are going to be reviewing the projects that are on this list in the traffic operations and planning studies category. But what we wanted to do is just identify all of the projects that we received. We did receive 22 projects during this call, which is actually a heavy lift for us. So we were very excited. It's more than we've received the last few years, kind of going back to pre-COVID times when we would receive those applications. But we do have it broken down to the different categories of the application. So we have 2 different bike ped applications that we receive. We take in feasibility study applications. So those are local governments that wish the TPO to conduct a feasibility study, to look at potential projects, identify cost estimate, see if the project's feasible, whether or not there's any obstacles to eventually constructing that project. A local government is not required to go through a feasibility study through the TPO. They can do that in-house. So some of our larger member governments do that in-house, such as Volusia County, Daytona Beach. Some of the medium-sized governments and smaller governments do come to us for feasibility studies. But you can see that we received 6 in that category. And we've just identified the name of the study and then who it's from. We are currently at the staff level going through all of the applications just to make sure they're complete. And if we have any questions from the project sponsor on eligibility of applications before we schedule those subcommittee meetings. But we did receive 6 in the bike ped feasibility study and 4 in the bike ped project implementation. So project implementation is an application that is requesting funding either in design, right of way, or construction, or all 3. So we did receive 4 in this category. Under the traffic operations feasibility study, we received 1 application from the city of South Daytona. But in the project implementation under that same category, we received 8 applications. So those are the applications that are identified. Some of these applications, such as the 3 from Port Orange, did come through the TPO as a feasibility study, and we completed those. And then the next step would be project implementation. Some of these are new applications that are coming in. The project from the city of Bunnell, which is a traffic signal at State Road 100 and Commerce Parkway. That's a project that we are looking at coordinating with FDOT as they're doing a resurfacing through there. But in order for us to include a project into one of their projects, it has to be on our priority list. So that's been some coordination between Benel, the TPO, and FDOT to get this project on our list so we can piggyback off a project that they're already working on. And then in the planning studies category, we did receive 3 applications for those studies. So these are the applications that we will be reviewing and ranking over the next couple of months. Once we finalize the scores, the projects are then slotted into our existing priority list based on ranking category. We will present that list at the May meeting for adoption in June. And then once that list is adopted, we transmit it to the Florida Department of Transportation for their consideration and use in developing the next work program. So that's kind of the cycle that's going through. So if there's any questions on any of the projects that we've received, we could try to answer them at this time. If we don't know the specifics yet, because we haven't gotten to that one in our review, then we can get back to you. Otherwise, it's just for your information presentation.
I'm gonna jump in ahead. Because I'm familiar with this and Kaya knows I'm familiar with this, the State Road 100 and Commerce Parkway traffic signal, should I not be here when this comes up? Commerce Parkway is a new roadway. It was punched through in the last year. And the increase, it's a cut through from US 1 all the way to State Road 100. Previously, it was just basically a roadway that handled Wendy's, a church, and the backside of Public Works in Flagler County. Now it's a thoroughfare. And the chief of police and the mayor came to me a few months ago and asked what the process was. And of course, I immediately turned to Kaya and said, here's the process. And she's been kind enough to work on this, but if it should come up and there is some type of priority, I would respectfully request that we put it there, because the number of cars coming out of Commerce Parkway now, all vehicles, trucks, cars, everything, including 18-wheelers, and they make that left turn with no signal there, and it's a 4-lane divided highway. It's a matter of time before we have a multiple fatality there. So I would just ask, should I not be here for some reason when this comes up for a vote, or however we handle it, that I would receive your consideration. Mr. Williams.
2 questions on the New Smyrna project and traffic operations. First thing, I've been trying to, on this committee, understand the difference between state roads and county roads and city roads, but I never really contemplated a federal highway, US 1. Who has jurisdiction there? And I mean, is there more approvals required or agencies involved in anything on that?
So US 1 is also State Road 5. So it is considered on the state road system. So we work, yes, we work with the Department of Transportation for that.
So FDOT would be.
So they would be involved in any, design plan review or. Now, since it is on a state road, there is also the option to work with the department, and if this is a project that they see as a priority as well, to have them manage the project. So a lot of what we do is we try to leverage additional funding that the state may have, because the TPO does receive limited funding sources that we can use for the call for projects. We receive roughly 13 million a year, but we divide that 30% go as a direct pass through to transit, 30% to bike ped, and 40% to traffic ops. So once you start breaking that 13 million down, it's not a lot of funds. That's one of the reasons why we don't fund capacity projects within our call for projects. We just don't have the funding to do that. So wherever we can leverage funding or piggyback on an existing FDOT project, such as the State Road 100 Commerce Parkway traffic signal, we do that. There are times where we come to the table with money, but if it's something where they're able to manage moving forward, we work with them on that. Yes.
Okay, well, and I think that answered my second question, which is, I mean, I've never seen a roundabout on US 1 anywhere, but I mean, if it's a state road, we have roundabouts on other state roads.
In Flagler County, there's 2. Yes, on US 1, right? Oh, three now?
Yes.
Okay, there's three.
Old Dixie, there's one in Matanzas, and then there's one in Oak.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So
Christine.
my question is, who came up with that? Is like, what a great idea that would be. Would it be the people who live in inland shores saying we can never go left or something? Like, how does that come up as a project?
Who identifies it? Well, I mean, it's submitted by the city.
Right.
So somewhere within the city, whether it came from staff or whether it came in response to, citizens calling in and complaining or, expressing their concerns. The origin of the project, I'm not aware of, but all of the projects do come from the city governments.
My understanding is it had something to do with the New Smyrna Airport.
Okay.
Somehow they felt like,
Is that across from South Street? You know, where that's like right by the north?
I think
end
it's
of the
south
airport?
of South Street.
Okay, yeah. That is a weird intersection there. And I mean, I actually watched an accident happen there with
Right.
somebody cutting across, but they didn't quite go all the way across and someone T-boned them. So, but that's South Street north of.
Yeah. No, I think the airport had a role.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't look like, it's only there's only three legs to that intersection right there.
Okay.
There's not a street that comes in.
It just
from
seems like,
north side.
of all places, the South Street one makes more sense if there's something there, which is also a three-leg, but heading west. So like just a neighborhood, this seems like an odd.
Raise my eyebrows too.
Okay.
In unison, yes.
Yeah, I'm just like.
Well, we can get some additional information from the city. And also that may be a question that comes up during the subcommittee for scoring. and
I mean,
ranking.
it's 55, which means people are doing 65. And I'm thinking like, okay, so I'm trying to think of like 44 where there was, Kepler Road and the other big one, I don't remember, is it King? The first one that they put in by
Grand.
the Grand.
Wait,
It's west of the city.
Yeah.
Where the,
Oh.
yeah,
it's-
Grand and 44, right?
Yeah.
and yeah, and there were a couple of fatalities there, I believe, at that, which is why they put, and I think it's 45 there. Maybe, I don't think
It's 55.
Is it?
At least part of it is. It
Okay.
slows down to 45 before you get to the
Before you get to
roundabout,
the
then it gets down
roundabout.
to
Then it's 15.
15 or 20 or something like that.
It just seems like
I ignore it. but-
They work, I'll tell you, because when you're southbound on US
Yes.
1 out of St. Augustine,
Mhm.
the first circle there at Old Kings,
Mhm.
speed limit 65.
okay,
So everybody's doing, like you said, 70, 75,
right.
and they gotta come down to 15,
it's like,
20 miles an
whoa.
hour for that circle. Good news is, the bad news is. And then
Yeah.
you pick it up again, and about the time you get to that top speed, you're coming around the corner to Matanzas Woods, which is also a circle. So it does slow the traffic down.
Just as a side note, maybe lighting be a thing because again, you're doing 65 and then all of a sudden like, oh God, why is it 15? Anyway.
All right, anybody else on this one? If not, are we ready for B? Then we will go to B. Presentation and discussion of the Clyde Morris Boulevard, State Road 483 Corridor Improvement Project.
Sorry for the little snap over here. What I'd like to do today is talk to you about some exciting improvements we've got on Clyde Morris Boulevard from Belleville Road, State Road 400, north up to Mason Avenue and Daytona Beach. Quick project overview. We're going to mill and resurface all the pavement within the entire project limits. We're going to construct the project into 3 segments, trying to take advantage of the available funding that we have and try to take care of some of the higher priorities as we build them in segments. All sections will include, at least for most of the project, a 14-foot multi-use path on the west side of Clyde Morris. That's primarily between Bevel Road and International Speedway. I'll get into that just a little bit more.
We're going to introduce some raised medians instead of that 5 lanes you have out there. We'll do some access management with medians and better defined left turn lanes. The 4th bullet there, I really want to emphasize it's not a typo. We are going to build a pedestrian underpass under Clyde Morris at Embry-Riddle's main entrance. I've got a little more on that coming up. Upgrade the drainage, part of which is we're going to close the canal from International Speedway up to Richard Petty and pipe that. Put a 14-foot trail on top of that. Improve the lighting through the whole corridor. We're going to upgrade all the traffic signals to mast arms and upgrade the pedestrian buttons at all these signalized intersections. And we are working with the Volusia County and the airport on possible realignment of Bellevue Avenue extension. They're looking into the feasibility of that. The county is. We're definitely working with them in whatever we can do to help that project along. The first segment I want to talk to you about is the segment you see in the box there. It's the red section. Fairly small section, but it gives us a good opportunity to get started. We're going to, as I said, pipe the canal on the west side there between the Embry-Riddle's parking lot. It used to be their soccer fields and Clyde Morris itself. We're going to resurface. We're going to put some raised medians in there. We're going to reconstruct the signal at Richard Petty. One thing that's not on this slide is we're going to add the pedestrian features at Buccaneer Way. So they've got access to the 14-foot trail across there. So they won't have to cross an International Speedway now. They could come down the west side and cross at Buccaneer Way. And then we're going to work with the city of Daytona Beach and Florida Power and Light to accommodate their impacted utilities at the pedestrian tunnel. So Florida Power and Light will actually go underground. They're working with Florida Power and Light, or Embry-Riddle, I'm sorry, to underground all the facilities through the whole campus area. The current schedule on that is we're going to open the bids this fall and hopefully get started construction by the end of December before possible. The estimated cost right now is $9.9 million for that segment. Section 2 or segment 2 is broke up for the purposes of the presentation. It's 2 separate areas, but it'll be one construction project. The first one is from Aviation Parkway / Bellevue to Richard Petty. This is primarily in front of the campus itself and at the end of the runway. This is the section here. We're going to build a pedestrian tunnel at Embry-Riddle. It's worth noting, we did some pedestrian counts out there on 2 different days, on a Tuesday and a Wednesday midweek, while class was obviously in session. The Tuesday count was near 1,500 pedestrians between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. The Wednesday count was almost 1,700. So I'm not sure we have a busier crossing in the district that I'm aware of. So it is very, very busy out there. So the pedestrian tunnel is greatly needed. I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but there was 3 students hit last October out there. So this is good timing for this to come on board. We're also doing some raised medians. The 14-foot trail will go on the west side, and we'll do an 8-foot sidewalk on the east side to tie in what's already out there. There's an 8-foot sidewalk there for a piece of the section. We're gonna match that. Again, we'll upgrade all the traffic signals with mast arms and pedestrian push buttons. Segment 2B, if you will, is from International Speedway north to Mason Avenue. The primary work here is mill and resurface the roadway. We'll upgrade all the curb ramps and to comply with ADA, upgrade the traffic signals primarily at Dunn Avenue to mast arms, and make some media improvements as we approach the hospital main entrance. This is just a view looking north. That's what you see there is the pedestrian overpass. So we're about standing on top of where the new pedestrian underpass will be. What's not shown in this graphic is the 14-foot path and the undergrounding of the utilities. That'll be on the west side or the left-hand side there. So I did mention the pedestrian underpass. If you look at the intersections, and I'll try to do it on both sides here. This is where the pedestrian underpass will be, is right next to the intersection. These are the ADA ramps coming from from the north side And then at the intersection, we'll have sidewalk or stairs going down to the pedestrian underpass. We'll put in the raised median here, which is currently not there today, landscaping. And this connection will go across Emery-Riddle's Pond to tie into the ICI Center parking lot, which is a big factor for the pedestrians crossing here. That's all their overflow parking there. A few features I do want to point out that the underpass will have is of course, very extensive waterproofing. So we won't have any leaking. It is a little wet there. We'll have some pumps on each end at the bottom of the stairwells for rainwater that comes down. Those will automatically come on. We're going to do some CCTV infrastructure, and the campus will put in their cameras. We're going to do the blue light phone infrastructure. That's the student emergency call phones they have throughout the campus. We'll add the infrastructure within the tunnel for that and put in LED lighting. So it'll stay very well lit all hours of the day and night. Because of the narrowness of the road, we can't put in a natural light in the middle, but we'll have a lot of LED lighting through there. And this is just a little view of looking north on the right-hand side is Halifax Health parking lot, looking up to the signal, so new raised median and mill and resurface the road. The sidewalks already exist. We will not be upgrading that to 14 foot. The segment 3, the last segment, is from Bevel Road to Aviation Center Parkway. All the same improvements that we mentioned on the other 2 segments will be included here. The resurfacing of the road, adding a raised median, building a 14-foot trail all the way to Bevel Road. Familiar with the area, there's no sidewalk facilities between Hancock and Bevel currently, so this is greatly needed as well. We'll upgrade the sidewalk on the east side to 8 feet, and again, replace all the signals with mast arms. Let me go back real quick. I skipped one thing here I want to mention on the sections 2. The bids will open in the summer of 2027, sometime in the July timeframe. The construction estimate for all of those improvements is 12.8. And segment 3 will open those bids in the summer of 2028, hopefully around the July timeframe. Estimated construction for that piece is 12.8. There's a lot of drainage structures in there, so we'll have to pipe everything and get the water to the current drainage systems that are along the corridor. This is just a quick look down near Corona, looking south. On the right-hand side is the Publix Plaza, and Bevel Road is at the top of the picture. Real quick, estimated schedule. So since we are breaking it up, we're trying to overlap the projects as much as possible. So it does appear as one project, even though it's 3 separate ones. So the first one, we'll open the bids in the fall of this year, start construction in January, or we're hoping to get started in December of this year. Estimating about 9-month construction time on that. By the time that one's wrapping up, we'll start the segment 2, which is 2A and 2B. And that should run almost a year. And then we'll open up the bids for the segment 3, taking us out to 2029 or almost 2020 or 2030 before total construction complete. One thing I do want to point out, after each segment is done, we'll do a landscaping project. I don't have this design done yet. We're working on that, but we're going to try to schedule the letting or the opening of the bids for the landscaping projects before each segment is done. That way they can just go right in there and complete it. And we'll have a finished product as they march down the road. This is important here. I want to point out, if the DOT had followed our normal process on this, we do have some right-of-way needs. And our right-of-way process, whether it's 1 parcel or 100 parcels, is about a 2-year process. Well, if it weren't for the working with our great partners in the city of Daytona Beach, Volusia County, and Emery-Riddle, we would need another 2 years before we started construction. But they've come to the table, they've partnered with us, and they're donating the right-of-way that we need to complete the whole project. So we could not do this without their help. It's very important that we point that out. So I I think I went through this a little quick, but do y'all have any questions?
Yes, sir. If you could go back to the slide with the pedestrian tunnel.
Yes, sir.
There we go. I'm just wondering, is there a reason why, or has it been considered that right where it curves off of the main walkway there
Yes.
on both sides, a cover over the walkway, not a full cover, but something that would channel the water off to the sides. And the reason I ask that is because my concern, of course, I'm just throwing it out there, is when you get to that and you get to the other side, the same thing. I'm afraid the people in the rain or something like that, as opposed to walking all the way down, walking all the way back, they're gonna run across the street and get hurt. But if it's covered, in my opinion, if it's covered, the water channels to the sides, it doesn't, number one, doesn't run down the ramp as much. And number two, it encourages people, let me get in there under cover versus let me walk across the street in the rain with low visibility, et cetera.
That's something we had not looked into, but I've got a note here, see if it's something we can do. Keep in mind, the wall is only about 3 feet high that you see along both sides. It starts around 2.5 feet. Of course, it gets higher as the ramps go down. So covering would be, I don't know, we'd have to look into it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Steven, your turn.
On this same slide, so was a bridge ever considered?
There is an overpass there now.
Yeah.
Students aren't going over it.
Oh, okay.
The only ones that are going over is the ROTC because they've been told they'll be kicked out of the program if they don't.
Oh. No, it just seems because you mentioned like, you know, all the things that need to be done before, you know, the tunnel is completed. So cost wise and work wise, it seems like a bridge would have been.
Yeah, but this also accommodates anybody with handicap.
Right.
With ADA. So this is a good solution for them and a good solution for everybody, I believe. So we did not look at another overpass. It was always going to be the underpass.
Okay.
Campus is going to work with us to get people to use them.
Nice.
Good news is it's college. We only have to train, 2 years of students. We train them. The rest of them will come in using it, we hope.
Christine.
Cool.
Thanks. All right, so that was, my first question was bridge. So the existing bridge and they're not using it because it's just stairs up and down.
That's correct.
I'm just thinking about the one on 92, the one for.
That has ramps. This one doesn't. It's mostly stairs.
You know, is there any thought to redesigning that, especially?
And primarily because the way the campus has grown, this is where the students are.
Okay.
The overflow parking's all at the ICI Center or the back of the ball fields. Of course, the main campus is being on the west side of the road, all the sports activities on the east side of the road, the student unions on the east side, west side. And any nighttime events are all on the west side in the main core campus area. So this is really where the pedestrians are going.
Okay. I mean, so even designing a better bridge and putting it where they're trying to go across.
The real estate to do the ADA ramps like we have in front of the Speedway. I don't know if we'd be able to get that much real estate.
Okay. I just, because there are so many, I mean, the ramp itself, the quality of what you're putting down there so that it doesn't become,
Understood.
I'm thinking about the scooters,
Yeah.
whatever, like, woo! Oh, all right. So lighting underneath, is there a generator or is there
There will be
something?
backup generator for the lighting.
Connected to
in-
that.
Into sump pumps.
Okay, because that's another thing I was thinking. So what's the first thing that happens with a storm?
When the events come, the
Yes.
power goes.
Yes.
Yes.
And then landscape, is that something, the landscape that you're putting in, landscaping, is that, is DOT going to be maintaining that? Or is that a partnership with the city and the college or?
It'll be, at this point, we're talking to the city. They've agreed to maintain the landscaping
Okay,
along, like they do on Bevel Road.
okay,
Right, they maintain all of that and International Speedway. So we would expand the maintenance limits and include this corridor here.
okay.
think you mentioned it, but it's hard to see on this, on the, image there. Are there stairs as well
Yes,
after the
sir.
actual crossing?
Yes, there's stairs coming from the stairs down
Okay.
on both sides.
Is there any, attempt to block or stop at grade crossings? I use the speedways bridges as an example because both of those, or at least one of them has where you can't actually cross the road there anyway.
Only through cooperation with the campus and their security to get people and students to use it. We have to leave the at-grade crossings with that buttons that are there now. The good news is, you have to push the button and wait for the light to change. You don't have to do that for the tunnel, so it'll actually be quicker. Unless you got lucky and walked up right when it changed. So we are working with the campus on how to try to get them to
Yeah, I just see the
tunnel.
I just see the use of this, of the ramp a little bit problematic because you gotta go a long way from where you're wanting to actually cross.
Yes and no.
How far is that?
Again, a lot of the parking is over at the ICI Center. A big portion of the student parking is over there, so that's why we're making this connection here. We're also working with the campus maybe to make a possible connection here to that main parking lot. So that'll be a direct route for them.
How long is that ramp itself?
I don't remember the exact length of it. I have it in the plans. I'm sorry, I didn't bring the plans with me. I
That's okay. It just seemed like if that was close enough to the bridge that's there now, you sort of have the same point of entry. And it
Yeah, no, it's
makes
pretty,
sense.
there's a pretty good separation between that and the overpass. It goes down, flat, down, flat.
Last question was, who maintains the ditch that's being culverted?
Right now, the DOT does.
I could say that way. Just curious.
That's why we want the city to maintain the landscaping.
Yeah.
Are you available afterwards for a couple more questions?
Absolutely. I'll be here for the next group as well, so.
Williams.
Well, kind of on the same theme, I don't know if it's 150 feet or whatever that ramp is. I can see from an engineering standpoint, having those right along the side makes your life easier. But, and I'm just probably too late for this, but I mean, it seemed to me if you swung those going east and west instead of north and south, and get the entrance to the ramps closer to where the students are coming out of the buildings and stuff. And so that they didn't have to go out of their way and go around, go out of their way. I'm concerned you're gonna have the same problem here you have with the bridge.
There's two things to that, because we did look at, could we put the ramps going the other direction? The first and probably the most important is we're spending federal dollars on this. And anytime we spend federal dollars on it, it has to be open and accessible to all the public. So if we put the ramps out onto the campus, they wouldn't appreciate us putting other pedestrians there. So this accommodates everybody, whether they're going to Embry-Riddle or not. And the real estate we would almost be into the ICI Center to get good ramps to get as deep as we need to get. So it's both logistically and fiscal responsibility, if you will.
Thank you.
Well, I'll just end, I think this is amazing, the collaboration, that's what you want to see between different governments. So to hear the county, Embry-Riddle, the city all working together with FUT, I think it's really cool. And it's a way to try to make things safer for students. And I don't know, but surely when you took your pedestrian counts, and I'm reassuring everyone because we're all asking, what about? But I mean, you could tell a lot has gone into this design. I know it's been a discussion for a long, long time. So I just want to say, I think it's very cool. And, hopefully the students will find it of value. So.
I hope so too. I know at University of Florida, they do.
Ah,
That was a little different in that they don't have to go down as much to get into the under 441 there, but they use it. That's all they use. So I hope we can retrain the current students and all the new ones will just do what they're supposed to do. We hope.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and I will stick around.
Appreciate your time. Okay, we move on to the FDOT report.
Good afternoon. Happy St. Patty's Day. Just a couple of things. real quick, I want to start off with a couple of projects that we have starting. We have some median modification starting this month for Southbridge Avenue at Marion Avenue, and then the State Road A1A from north of Roberta Road to Flagler County line. We're starting our resurfacing and pedestrian safety improvements, and that starts in April. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. And then the next one, I just want to do a quick project highlight with a short video. Recently, we completed the roadway improvements along US 17 in Leon Springs from south of Spring Street to Lake Winona Road. So I'll show you a short video here.
Leon Springs, peaceful historic community Springs, has experienced steady growth. US 17, also known as State Road 15, serves as a vital transportation. As traffic volumes have increased, so has the need to improve safety and capacity along the road. To address these needs, the Florida Department of Transportation began a roadway improvement project in September 2023 to widen US 17. The project widens the roadway 2 to 4 lanes, improving traffic and reducing congestion. At the heart of the project is a new roundabout designed to promote continuous movement and slower speed. Roundabouts like this one can reduce fatal and serious injury crashes by 82%. Additionally, with concrete truck apron allows large vehicles to navigate the intersection safely and efficiently. Pedestrian safety is also a key focus. The roundabout crossings are equipped with rectangular red flashing lights, which flash bright yellow when active, alerting drivers and pedestrians waiting to cross. Additional improvements include the installation of Leon Springs' first and only traffic signal to help students safely cross to and from.
They made the big time.
Across the highway. The crossing guards were all we had, and we saw crossing guards really in danger a lot of times because just weren't paying attention. So signals have made such an improvement in the safety of crossing guards, safety of the families in the morning walking their kids back and forth, and the children going back and forth to school too.
The new multi-use trail also expanded connectivity for pedestrians and bicyclists. Throughout construction, FDOT collaborated closely with local partners to manage detours and minimize disruptions. Together, these improvements create a safer, more efficient movement for drivers and pedestrians in the surrounding community.
Then the last item, just an upcoming event, we FDOT with UCF is hosting a career fair at UCF on March 30th. Right now we have attendees at FDOT, of course, and then we have our county, Seminole, Brevard, Volusia are participating, Melbourne and Orlando, the Orange County Fire Rescue Department, and then there's other partnering opportunities. The registration, it did say to register by yesterday, but if you know about this event or know anybody going or are interested still, I'm happy to reach out to see what we can do. Lastly, are just our normal resources, CFO Roads, I-4 Beyond the Ultimate, and our safety office. And then my information is at the bottom if you ever need to reach out for any questions or give me a call. And I will be around also after the meeting for any questions on projects or project updates.
Any questions? Thank you. Volusia County and Flagler County construction reports are attached. Any staff comments?
I don't have any additional comments unless there's any questions. Pam?
Just foot forward, program Bike Walk Central Florida is having their pedestrian enforcements. The next one will be tomorrow on South Atlantic and Harbor Village in Ponce Inlet from 9 to 11. And then March 19th from 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. Belterre Parkway and State Route 100 in Flagler. And all from 8:30 to 9:30 on that same day, Bulldog Drive and State Route 100. And then there are a couple in April.
April 1st from 7:30 to 8:30, Belterre and State Route 100 again will be enforced, and Bulldog Drive and State Route 100 will be 8:30 to 9:30. I believe that is what I've got so far. That's
This is an aside, Bulldog and 100 is where Flagler Palm Coast High School is. Okay. Okay, then we'll go around for CAC comments. Start with Siva.
Hey. So we successfully launched the east side of the county's Vow-Ride access on March 1st. In many of the zones, we're exceeding expectations by about 150%. So a lot of riders that weren't using fixed route or weren't using as much are using the microtransit. So it's so far we've had a very successful start with that, and we're hoping for it to get even bigger and better here in Volusia County. So that's all I've got.
Okay, this is a little silly. If you guys remember, it's been a while when we were in the Daytona airport and somebody brought up about population projections. If we ever look back and see how accurate they are. And I was like, oh, that can be done, da, da, da. And then I forgot about it. Well, you guys, I just want to tell you that on UF Beaver, which is where they do the population projections, they actually have an article dedicated to how they go back and look at the accuracy and use it to calibrate future models. So if you're interested, I'll get you the link. It was just weighing on me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I never told them about that. So that's my comment.
Williams.
Spoken like a true data geek. I don't have anything.
No.
Nothing else? Okay. And
one that's indicated online.
okay, if that, in which case I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Harold.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nobody wants to adjourn. Nobody wants to adjourn.